Interesting question inspired by George Mayer, who's our Director of Sales here at Govberg Watchbox, and also Wei Ko, who's the founder of men's style magazine The Rake, and probably better known to us in the watch fraternity, Revolution Magazine. So we had a discussion over dinner about the most innovative watches of the last half-decade. So herewith, my take. Now, George said that the FP Journe Vagabondage 3 was the most innovative watch of the last 5 years. I happen to disagree. To me, the V3 is the V2, which was a jump hour and jump minute, with the, well, it's effectively the V2, as you can see right there, with a jumping seconds complication added. Now, I have strong feelings about this, because FP Journe already had deadbeat seconds systems that were fed by a Remontoir d'Égalité. If you're familiar with the Remontoir Tourbillon, his first watch built under his own name, his first wristwatch, then you know that he had the deadbeat seconds system a long time ago. If you take that deadbeat hand and you replace it, you just put a disc with the numbers on top of that extended pinion, you get a jumping seconds complication. So for me, this was not a path beyond mechanically for FP Journe. This was a refinement of his deadbeat seconds to look like continuous jumping seconds. And it is that. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's not a landmark watch. I think the V2 was the landmark watch. Now here's my most influential watches of the last half-decade. Purely my opinion, but I'm going to back it up because on the basis of influence, the impact they had, relevance to collectors and the industry, imagination and disruptive potential to the industry, that's why you're not going to see, for instance, something that's virtuosity in engineering like the Audemars Piguet Super Sonnery, which will blow your eardrums out. It's a minute repeater and a sonnery that will blow your eardrums out with its volume. It's not on this list because of limited relevance. It's just not that relevant or influential to the industry right now. And the JLC Gyro Tourbillon series, which is mind-blowing work from an engineering and watchmaking standpoint, I just don't think it's that relevant to the mainstream collector, and I don't think it disrupted the industry. I haven't seen much influence either. There's only a couple of multi-axial tourbillons, and we haven't really seen too many of them since Thomas Prescher built the first one in the late 90s. So hereby, Tim's choices. Zenith Defy Lab, 108,000 vibrations per hour, or 15 hertz. This is a watch that is the realization of something that you could argue has been in the works since the original 1960 Bulova Accutron, which is a harmonic oscillator that supersedes all previous mechanical escapements by finding the natural frequency of a unit. In Accutron, it was electrically powered and it was a tuning fork. Here, it's spring-powered and it's a silicon unit that oscillates as one piece. It sounds like a very subtle rattle if you hold it against the ear. So this is essentially a full mechanical version of what Bulova did with the Accutron, a mechanical oscillator with a natural frequency that achieves phenomenal vibration levels, so it can effectively achieve 0.3 seconds per day of deviation. I believe this technology, which was also attempted by De Bethune with Resinique and Vaucher Manufacture with the Sanfin system, this will change the industry. This will be the end of a lot of watchmaker manufactured watches, and you will see this on the luxury horology side, expensive watches that are exclusive, as I define it, rather than high horology, because a lot of these parts pop out of industrial production processes. I think those processes used to make the parts, as well as the idea of the silicon oscillator itself, will find their way through watches costing as little as $5,000 within the blink of an eye. And I think Zenith will be the first to commercialize it. They've already been the first to sell it. 10 pieces were made in the initial run. I think anyone will be able to buy this technology from Zenith for 10 grand in 2 years. Okay, the Panerai ID Lab PAM 700. 4 jewels, full synthetic movement, 50-year service interval, 50-year warranty. That is meaningful technology from a service standpoint. If you save a $1,200 service every 3 years for the life of this watch, the price almost starts to make sense, and the price is $50,000. This is another technology that I think will immensely disrupt the industry and change everything we currently know and assume about the service intervals of luxury watches. Again, I think this will start expensive, exclusive, and as far as I know, unveiled in 2017, not one has made it to a customer's hand yet. This is the technology of the future. Possibly a leg up on Panerai, however, Breitling. And they did it a year before Panerai. At Basel World 2016, I was there, I saw the prototype. This is the Breitling Superocean Heritage Chronoworks. They only made a handful of them. 100 pieces, $40,000, all ceramic. This was Breitling's first full ceramic case, but that's not the innovative part. It features a full ceramic caliber BC01. It's the B01 caliber with ceramic bridges and plates. The silicon or synthetic wheels insert directly into the ceramic bridges, so there are no pivot jewels for the drivetrain of the watch. The chronograph function has pivot jewels and the balance has pivot jewels, but not for the drivetrain of the watch. You also have an escapement that is entirely unlubricated silicon. You have a balance that is multi-material based on silicon and metal with a perfectly even, basically zero coefficient of thermal expansion, so resistant to temperature-induced timing deviations. The barrel itself was thinned out, and the barrel is dry lubricated with a DLC internal coating that allowed Breitling to achieve a 100-hour power reserve rather than the B01's standard 70. And finally, there was a sprung tooth seconds pinion for the chronograph system, so the sprung teeth effectively reduce all of the play in the seconds hand. So what you wind up with is an immensely innovative set of technologies all working in tandem. I picked this over the Zenith Defy El Primero 21, the 1/100th of a second foudroyant with 2 escapements, and the JLC Extreme Lab 2 in all its iterations. This is revolutionary technology that will find its way into mainstream watches. FP Journe Elegante 48, my choice for the most innovative and disruptive FP Journe over the Vagabondage 3, and the reason is because it blew up all of our assumptions about how a men's watch is supposed to be made. The Elegante started as FP Journe's ladies' watch. The tonneau case was made larger for male use. It is a quartz watch. It features a fully loomed dial. The dial is a big block of loom. The quartz caliber is a lifetime serviceable Swiss quartz with gold bridges, not a disposable electronic component. It has a shelf life of 18 years battery capacity because it actually shuts itself down and stops ticking when it's not being used for half an hour. When picked up, it remembers the time, it reorients the hands, and it resumes ticking. This blew up all conceptions about men's watches and quartz. This is the best deal in FP Journe's catalog, and I'd say it's one of the 3 FP Journe watches I would most like to own. Bold, making a men's quartz watch, making it non-round, and deriving it from a ladies' watch rather than the other way around, with lifetime serviceability and real luxury horology cred. Finally, Ressence. This is a watch that's hot off the presses, still a prototype, but this is the Type 2 E-Crown. Every generation has had its mechatronic watch. In the 50s, we had the original Hamilton Electric Caliber 500, mechanical drivetrain and balance with an impulse system and a timing system based on electronics and contacts. In the 60s, we had a mechanical drivetrain with a transistorized system called Accutron, which used the tuning fork acting as a servo and a transistor to time it. In the 70s, we started to see the beginning of mecha chronographs. First with the Omega Speed Sonic, which was a tuning fork movement with a Dubois de Praz mechanical chronograph on top, and we saw mechatronic chronographs in the 80s and 90s with quartz bases and conventional vertical clutch chronograph modules. And then in the 2000s, we saw Seiko and Grand Seiko with the spring drive system. But here with Ressence, we have something that offers real benefits, a mechanical watch that can continuously update itself based on remote signals. So it's a radio watch, it's an atomic clock watch. It can store 2 different times in the electronic module which you're looking at, so it's a GMT. It can also open shutters automatically to solar charge the module if it runs low on power. You can also use it can also be wound by the mechanical winding system of the watch. You can also run the watch even if the electronics fail entirely. Again, check out Ressence's E-Crown subsite. They have a special website for this system, but you're going to see this at every level of luxury horology in the future. It's not for me. I don't want this. I want an all-mechanical watch, but this is the future. This has disruptive potential.